Hello, I'm going to provide a little bit of an explanation as to how we have gotten to the point where we are with the PMFs in Latin America and the Caribbean, that is the Caribbean, Central America, and Andean regions. So I'm going to go back to February of this year when we had a workshop in Costa Rica and we were talking about the beginnings of developing the new meal system for QSO International based on the participatory activities that I engaged in across, at that time, the LAC region. And we brought a number of these templates and tools to this meeting in February, at which all of the present country reps and members of staff from Ottawa as well were there to talk about the new system, but as well to talk about transforming country strategies which had been in place for about the last 18 months, as I wrote in the accompanying email to this video, developing them into PMFs. And so this February workshop was kind of the beginnings of really thinking about that. And I'm just going to walk through from there until now to kind of give some background and where we're meant to go with the PMFs. So the idea is that within QSO International that there are nested frameworks, that there's a global framework for QSO International's work. Right now that is representing voice, and then regional or country frameworks, regional for the Caribbean and then country by country for other countries within Central America, Andean, and the Andean region. And then in each one of these frameworks, there are program streams. Now, the point is that there has been a change in the way that QSO International has functioned now, leading to this programmatic approach, or with program streams. Before the development of these new country strategies, which happened about 18 months ago, the way in which QSO International was working was very much, as you can see from this before slide, that partners were chosen in different areas according to parameters, say access to justice, and there were a number of partners that were chosen that were engaging in that kind of work, and volunteers were placed in those partners, and the partners were working towards their own independent goals, but in a certain area of work. And if the partner was happy and the volunteer was happy, then that was pretty much the way that it was functioning. The desire that was presented 18 months ago in terms of developing country strategies was that it would become more programmatic, or as we might call it, projectized, that program areas would be developed based on a needs assessment done in country, and an understanding that really is based on the grassroots, all the partners, etc. And then the partners that were engaged in those program areas would be then working together towards specific programmatic goals. So in order to do this, this meant that the country strategies had to be developed so that they had these specific program areas. And that was what initially happened about 18 months ago. So then from these country strategies, in about the springtime of this year, after we initially started talking about this, in February, we talked about the developing of logic models and PMFs and developing those from the country strategies. Some countries had more of a developed logic model and PMF than others, the Caribbean being one of them because of their work towards a couple of major proposals, Level the Vibes and, of course, Caribest. So they had done some work on this, but other countries also, they had a general understanding. So the goal was that the logic model and the PMF would be created from the country strategy, and they would help to inform that global draft voice framework, which exists now and was used in the proposal for voice. As we got to the end of spring, beginning of summer, myself, Kate Roberts in Costa Rica, Dawn Coburn in Ottawa, and Debbie Bucher also in Ottawa. In the absence of heads of programs, we had a series of discussions about the existing logic models and PMFs in the different countries and the Caribbean region, and the idea of working with the country program offices to streamline and work through the development of these in the interests of having a baseline data collection activity that would happen in June. Based on the timing of the voice proposal, it meant that this baseline data collection was put off, and it has been put off until perhaps the end of this fiscal year, and the baseline data collection will happen at the launching of Voice. So that means between now and then, we have some time to engage with partners, to test the feasibility, to review and revise PMFs, make some final touches on them to be able to then move forward and plan for that baseline data collection that will happen at the beginning of Voice. Now, that means that the PMFs as they exist, they do need to be simplified. They do need to really be looked at to see if they work with the placements that have been developed, with the work that's being done in country. Dawn and myself are looking at the placement progress reports and also alongside the PMFs, seeing how what's happening in country is related to the PMFs as they stand. And we know that the development of placements has been done in accordance with Voice. And we also need to look at how that works with the PMF. The PMFs right now are drafts, and so there are a number of things that can happen to ensure the coherence between the PMF, Voice, and the work that's happening in country as defined by the specific country programs, because it was the country programs that worked alongside myself, Dawn, Kate, and Debbie to put together those PMFs, and that was really driven by the countries themselves. So right now, the idea is that the present work of each country can be reviewed, discussed with staff and partners about the relationship of what's happening in the country and what's been planned for the next year in terms of the volunteer placements, how that connects with the PMF and the partnerships and the placements, how they all connect together. As I mentioned before, the simplification of the PMF, ensuring the focus of the program areas. There was some reduction of program areas in certain of the PMFs. Some countries that had 3 program areas had reduced them to 2 over the process this summer. And then with Debbie, we had ensured the maintenance of gender mainstreaming in the PMFs, but that also, as they become simplified, that will also need to be ensured as well. And then finalizing and formalizing the PMFs as we start to understand more of the expectations for Voice and that PMF for that larger major project and that large majority of the programming that's happening in country. So I hope this has given kind of a little bit of a background of how the PMFs have been developed and sort of what is happening between now and the end of the fiscal year, between now and the launching of Voice. I tried to put it in a little bit of a nutshell and do it in a way that could be distributed. So if you have any questions at all, you can always get in touch with me or Dawn, and we're happy to talk about this process and how we might get country program offices involved, yourselves as HOPS, Kieran, Danny, etc. I know that Debbie is willing to be a resource as well. So it's something just to really, as is written on this slide, ensure the coherence of the work and connect them together. It's not about forcing a fit. It's about adapting, developing, and simplifying, streamlining to make sure that the PMF can accurately represent what's happening in the country and the strategy over the next number of years. Thanks.